What's up, everybody? It's Mickey. I'm back. I just finished watching the Face Off and the card that they're putting together for the 22nd of November with Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney and Benavidez and Yard and all these other great fighters. Bam Rodriguez and you know I just man, it's been great and fantastic how boxing has been, moving along. Like I said, I had made a video about Turkey Alashiki. I was saying he was bad for boxing, which I think in the long term he will be, because they already shrinking the ring size, and I told folks about that. But most people, they want to see action, and they're down with it and everything. But he's definitely been fattening the pockets of these fighters, and for me, that was a lot of things that we used to talk about back in the day, as far as the fighters' pay and how much they're risking their lives and the amount of money that they were receiving in these purses and everything. And now that you got that oil money, you got that Dubai money, what I'm talking about, you got that Saudi Arabia money, now they can be compensated well. But we as fight fans want to see the performances, remain stellar. When you're getting millions of dollars to fight another man, in the combat sport of boxing, you're supposed to give the people what they want. And I told folks a long time ago, we the Romans, we want to be entertained. You know what I'm saying? We want to see blood, sweat, and tears, and guts, and concussions, and ambulance dragging people out. We want to see that type. That's why MMA is gaining some traction and momentum in the hearts of the violent. You know what I'm talking about? 'Cause, we some violent people, period. People in general is what I'm saying. Like, we resort to violence quicker than we would to, peace. You know what I'm saying? We supposed to be peacemakers, but no, we don't do that. But, getting back to what I was saying about the face-off with Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney, and the things that they were saying in the press conference, because I'm really starting to like Brian Norman Jr. because he keep it simple. You know what I'm saying? He ain't no long drawn out talker. He just getting to it. Look, y'all can talk about my skills. Y'all can talk all I got is power and all that. We'll see. And he been flatlining dudes lately, so I just like his attitude. And like I said, I always liked him because he wasn't never like a big talker and all that stuff. He just wasn't getting in the ring and fight. But Devin Haney, the boy from Henderson, Nevada, for me, I really appreciate the fact that he's taking this fight after the things that Brian Norman has been doing since his last 2-3 fights. He flatlined Santillan, and then he flatlined Jin Saki. He flatlined the other dude with a jab, a stiff jab. That dude ain't want no more. Remember the other guy, the Puerto Rican? He had big power too, and he shook Brian boots. Remember when Brian, he caught Brian with a left hook? Brian shook. I was like, oh, this dude got some power. But Brian finished him up, gave him a power jab, and sat him in the corner. Brian caught him with some more. I said, ooh. And I don't know why people think that Brian don't have no skill, because just like he said, you got to be able to set it up if you got power. Because most people, like, for example, Martin Bacall, he had power, and when he fought F.A., he didn't use it correctly. He didn't cut off the ring. He didn't understand, for a boxer puncher like F.A. and Jabba, he was supposed to take it to his body, take that power, hit him in his body, first 5-6 rounds. You got to wear him down so he can't be moving his legs, but that's what I said. You got to have the IQ to understand what you're dealing with in front of you, because the adaptation of your skill level will show and prove that you can go above what your detractors say that you can't deal with it. Sort of like how everybody, and myself included, is talking about this Shakur and Zepeda fight that's on I think it's tomorrow night. Yeah, on Saturday, July 12th. But I just it, like, his attitude, Brian Norman Jr. attitude, is more believable. Like, he's not faking. You can tell when somebody's like wishy-washy, up and down with their comments and stuff, sort of like what Forrest has been doing lately and things, and to see Brian Norman Jr. really stand in a lane by itself, to where he's not a rah-rah, I'm trying to fight I'm gonna beat up everybody, and no Mr. T, remember in Rocky? You a bum, Rocky. You a bum. You ain't never fought nobody, Rocky. Fight me, Clubber Lang. Remember, he was Clubber Lang? Man, he embarrassed Rocky. He said, I see you over there. Yeah, I see you looking good. You need to get with a real man. You with a sucker. You remember Mr. T, man, he embarrassed Rocky out there with Adrian and everything. But yeah, he's not that type. And it's a lot of fighters in boxing that's type of attitude, because Floyd Mayweather, when he was pretty boy, he became like a villain. But see, Floyd talked trash and backed it up. And a lot of these fighters talk their way into a dud most of the time, like what Forrest and Shakur Stevenson does. Tells everybody what he going to do every fight for the last 4 or 5 fights, and haven't lived up to his mouthpiece. You see what I'm saying? And everybody's, you could tell they all trying to be like Mayweather, but they don't have the heart Mayweather had. You know what I'm saying? Mayweather stay in the fire. They can say whatever they want. Manny can say, remember, because Manny called Floyd a runner. Nah, that's boxing. That's boxing. And we could say, the sweet science, because it's hit and not get hit, but you got to be performing while you're not getting hit. And that's what Floyd did. So, they always, they always try to down him and say he was a runner and all that. But Shakur shows you what true running is. The 2-step hop, to turn the back and run, to get out the way and run. Come on now. And now, and everybody see it except him. But it was funny that Turkey sent out that tweet or whatever, or that X post about the Tom and Jerry, kind of like really calling him out, calling Shakur out, because they see that he ran against De Los Santos. They see that he did all of the things that he did when, he's fighting somebody with power and I mean really not engaging, because him and De Los Santos, they had the lowest output, one of the lowest in boxing history. He didn't throw a punch. He was running the whole time. And, I don't fault just him, because De Los Santos should have cut off the ring more and should have engaged more, should have just rushed him. Watch what you see Zepeda do on Saturday. Zepeda going to do what De Los Santos should have done. Watch. And, but like I said, the boy from Henderson, Nevada, he's gaining momentum back in my eyes, because, like I said, a lot of fighters would have avoided Brian Norman Jr. A lot of fighters are avoiding him because his last 2 performances were spectacular, and he showed toughness, he showed grit, he showed a chin, he showed power, he showed IQ, he showed a lot of things in my eyes that, from how people view him, they're not giving him the credit that's due. They're not giving him the credit that's due. And the boy from Henderson, Nevada got a lot of followers and people that's, on his gonad. So, they're going to always, protect him, and whatever he said goes or whatever, because his last performance two performances. The one he got beat up by Ryan Garcia, who was, later said that he was on Ostarine or steroids or whatever, which was a null and void win for him, and Haney kept his O. And then with Jose Ramirez, man, he ran. He chicken leg. He was damaged goods because of what Ryan Garcia did to him. Destroyed him. He damaged him. He PSTD'd him. You know what I mean? He was comatose. Ryan really destroyed him, and you could see that in his return to the ring with Jose Ramirez, because Jose Ramirez is not a big puncher. He's not a big puncher like that to where he's gonna flatline you with one shot. You know what I'm saying? He's more of a cumulative puncher. Plus, he's way slower than Haney. So by Haney not engaging in that fight, I don't think he threw a punch for the first 3 rounds. I think it was a track star meet. You know what I'm saying? He was circling. I said, what the? I said, oh, they got one. They got one, coach. Yeah, they got one. And now, from that performance to hear him talk in this press conference, it's like, wait a minute. The way that he's talking to Brian Norman Jr., and then when they facing off and he pushing Brian Norman Jr., that's not the same type of energy that he gave when he fought Ramirez. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know if he's getting back to his Devin Haney self. I don't know, but I got Brian Norman Jr. flatlining him. I saw that vision when I was watching them talk to each other. I saw Haney with his hair just like that. His hair gonna be the same color, just like that. But I saw his head back with his eyes closed on the canvas. I'm not lying. I saw it. I saw him getting flatlined, because what I'm about to tell you is the reason why I see this. And he gonna try to stay away, but it's not gonna work, because Brian Norman Jr. know how to cut off the ring. See, that's what people don't realize. And then what Ryan did, he shook him for life, dog. He shook. You see that boy Chin? He shook. He shook for life. He shook for life. He shook for life. It's like what Antonio Tarver did to Roy Jones. Think about it. When Antonio Tarver did to the incredible, dynamic Roy Jones, was unheard of when he knocked out Roy Jones. Slept him. And Ryan Garcia kind of like did the same thing to Devin Haney. And if you notice, after Roy got knocked out by Tarver, everybody started knocking him out, because he shook loose that screw in that boy Chin. And that's what I believe that Devin Haney is. But, he's still talking because he knows that people are watching. So he has to be this, dream. He got to be the dream Haney, Devin the dream Haney, but when behind closed doors, he knows he's shook, because, he kind of like talked like this before the Ramirez fight, and look what he gave us. And this is how Shakur does the same thing, talk like this, and look what they give us. You understand? Eggs. I don't care who you are in boxing, out of boxing, casual, fan, whatever your level of viewability is. If you would have saw that Fatal Fury card with Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez, you would say this boy is some garbage. He looked like an amateur at best when he fought Jose Ramirez. And to watch Brian Norman Jr. last 3 fights, and to see the difference between Devin Haney last 3 fights and Brian Norman Jr. last 3. But don't get me wrong, I believe that Haney showed a lot of heart in that Ryan Garcia fight. Even though I think that Ryan damaged him, he showed a lot of heart and grit. Because I had made a video about that. This was before he had sued Ryan. Once he sued him, I disowned him. Because we boxers, We don't sue each other. No, we in a club. This is a fight club, and we don't. First thing, we don't talk about sparring. That's the first rule in Fight Club. We don't talk about sparring, and these dudes out here today are just blowing the spot up, messing up everything with internet rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? Sparring, because it don't count. Next rule of Fight Club. We don't talk about Fight Club. You know what I'm talking about? But Haney know he shouldn't have. I don't care if it, because I'm really starting to think it might have been his father, Bill. Because that's why Haney is not, he hasn't gained his man strength yet. You understand? Because he still hasn't, let go of his father's care. And he has to stand up and be a man on his own. That's when he'll get his man strength. But I don't know how old Haney is now. I think he might be 27 or something like that. He might be up in there with Shakur 28. But he ain't going to never get his man strength until, I don't care how many allegedly snack compounds that he uses with Victor Conte over there, conjuring up for him and everything, who was a well-known, documented, convicted performance enhancement dealer. You know what I'm talking about? But, he aligned himself with him, and we saw Haney at the size that he was when he jumped in the ring with Loma, and he looked like a superhero. And that was basically off season for him. And we know, what Victor Conte, dealt with bodybuilders and all of the people that needed the enhancements to compete on the level of Ronnie Coleman, 8-time Mr. Olympian, muscles upon muscles everywhere. And, Haney and Bill, excuse me, are lining themselves up with this type of, guy who just came from prison and everything. No disrespect to nobody coming from prison who wants to change their leave. But these people that deal with Victor Conte, like Eddie Reynoso and all of that, they're popping dirty for steroids. So allegedly, I don't want to say Eddie Reynoso is buying it from Victor. Allegedly, but the alleged is for Victor and Reynoso, but Reynoso people popping dirty. Munguia just popped dirty. Canelo popped dirty from clenbuterol, and Oscar Valdez popped dirty for another substance. I think it might have been clenbuterol too, and some other stuff. But yeah, that lets you know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, to me, I just believe that it's a lot more people using PEDs, performance enhancement drugs, and they should be banned from the sport when they get caught, because ain't no meats and all of that stuff got no clenbuterol. Man, they lying. They using this stuff, man. You could look at their bodies and stuff, because I was like, back when Haney had fought Garcia, and you saw the lead up to that fight, and then you saw when he was leading up to fight Rolando Romero, Rolly. He looked, his body, I ain't gonna say it looked too much different, but he looked more cut in the Haney fight. And then, they saying he popped dirty for, what is that, Ostarine? But to me, I thought it was more of what Ryan at the time was doing with the society in Hollywood, that secret society or the Illuminati or whatever you want to call it, which is a true thing. And he was exposing a lot of things that they were doing. So I thought they were trying to ruin his career. And then he, complied when they threatened him and all this other stuff. So, and that's why he started, going crazy and putting all these crazy texts and all that. So I figured it was something different, but, his performance with Rolly, but I still believe that because they got history, you know what I mean? Him and Rolly got history, and Rolly beat him up in sparring. We saw the video, Rolly rolled jelly. I mean, really beat Ryan up. I'm talking about, so when you beat up somebody when you're young, it's almost like a wound that will always be there. You understand, like a memory that you can't, like you'll always remember that ass whooping. I'm telling you. When you get beat up when you young, like real young, like see the young, I'm talking about like 12, 13, you know, because I think Rolly beat him up when he was like 16 maybe, 16, 17, something like that. But what I'm saying is it forms it's like a memory that your mind, no matter what you do, you'll always remember an ass whooping. I remember one time my grandmother told me go get a switch. And oh my man, I had whelps all over. I'll never forget. And I had to be about 7 years old. And that was a long, man. Oh, it was a long time ago. But you remember when you get your ass whooped. So that's why I said what I was saying about Ryan Garcia and Rolly at the time, because Rolly whooped Ryan, and go watch this burn. Rolly beat the brakes off Ryan. I was like, damn. I mean, he beat him up bad. It was a beat up joint, like a, man, why you trying to talk to my sister type beat up? Man, Rolly beat him up. And then so when they fought this time, Ryan had that look like he remembered. When he came out of the Batmobile, he had that look like, man. And Rolly was like, he was calm and cool and collected the whole fight week. Because I had made videos about Rolly was calm, cool, collected. Like, man, I already beat this dude up. He remember. He remember once I start landing these blows, it's going to click back. And it did. Rolly landed the double hook. Ryan was on his button. Ryan was in survival mode. From that point on, Ryan was like, please don't knock me out. Let me make it to the end. Yup, and he messed up a lot of people's picks, man. Messed up a lot, mine included, because I thought I had wrote Rolly off because of the performances that he's been having lately. And I apologize, Rolando, because you did an amazing job against Ryan Garcia, and I commend you, and I don't even know why I doubted you. But that was a good win, and you're a 3-time world champion, which is incredible, to do. So I commend you, brother. But yeah, I just think that the boy from Henderson, Nevada is just, I think he's gonna be sleep in this fight, y'all. I really think he's gonna be sleep, and I think that he's acting for his fans right now. Like when they were in this press conference and the things that he was saying, he's levels above. Don't get me wrong, Devin Haney he was a fantastic fighter before. I really believe that Jose Linares started it all when he shook him in that, I think it was like the 8th or 9th round. Remember when they fought? And Jose caught him with a nice right, overhand right, boom, right on the chin. Devin was doing he was doing the Dougie back to the corner. Remember he was doing the Dougie? Remember, do the Dougie? Remember? Man, I said, oh, he was staggering like a mug. He was doing the Fred Sanford. But yeah, I think that was the start of everything right there, because Jose Linares, man, he caught him clean and shook Devin. But Devin was so much in shape. He recovered really quickly, and Devin is a beautiful boxer, man. You got to give the boy credit where credit's due. He has a great jab, fast feet, good twitch, fast twitch muscles. He got cat-like reflexes. Devin. When Devin was really fighting, like what I'm saying, like before that Jose Ramirez fight, because that wasn't Devin. That's why I said Devin he's more of he gonna fight you, man. That's why I like Devin, because I had liked him before the suing thing, is what I'm saying. Because I disowned him once he wanted to sue, but I really think now it's Bill. That's why I'm really talking about Devin again. But Devin will fight you. Like, he ain't thinking about defense first like Shakur does. He trying to get at you with that jab. Devin got a punishing jab. He got a nice hook. Devin can fight, man. He is a, if you skill for skill between him and Brian Norman, Devin got more skill than Brian Norman. He do got more skill. But see, power neutralized. When you got power, that's why I said people can say what they want and talk about Tank and Shakur and say Shakur is more skillful. You can say that, okay. But power neutralized. Because to me, Tank is just as skillful as Shakur. In my eyes, because I know what I was looking at when Tank was coming up and he was showing head movement. I could tell that he was watching Floyd's videos because he was moving like Floyd. He was moving like Floyd, head movement, everything he was moving like Floyd. And that's why he was having so much success, because he was emulating somebody and he was adding his power with it. See, Floyd didn't have the type power that Javante got. But at the lower weight class, Floyd will get you up out of there with accumulation. Floyd will get you, man, I don't care what nobody say. They've been talking about all this stuff with Floyd power, and they compare Shakur to Floyd, but I just they are crazy. Floyd is look. I don't want to talk about it, but Floyd is one of the greatest. But like I said, that's just my own opinions and everything. Because I had loved boxing for so long, and I still love the sport or whatever. That's why I talk about it. But I just think that a lot of people don't, it's more of a character-based theme now. Boxing is, like Devin, when he was talking to Brian Norman, you could see the character. It wasn't him, because had he performed the way he talking to Ramirez and beat Ramirez up and knocked Ramirez down and got a TKO or something, then I would say, okay, yeah, that match is up. See, but when you talk like this, like how Shakur talked to Edwin De Los Santos about he going to beat his ass and belt and all this, and then when he go lay the egg, and then he talked the same way about this Zepeda, I'm gonna belt the ass and I'm gonna knock him out and I'm gonna show him this and everything like that. And then he said that same thing about Harturum or whatever when he was fighting in his hometown in Newark, and people was walking out because he laid an egg, because he's always writing these checks with his mouth, but his performances ain't cashing them. But he won all of this money to fight all of these fighters, and he's not giving the people the performances that he's demanding the money for. You understand? And I understand, because he a prize fighter. He's supposed to get it, what he's fighting for. But he ain't fighting. He ain't fighting. Especially if somebody got some power or some grit and all that. Man, he ain't fighting him. He running from him. He ain't engaging. Yeah, so that's why I said, but before the Ramirez fight, I just believe Devin Haney was he was a different type of, because I believe back then, before the Brian Garcia fight and before the Loma fight, I believe Haney could have beat Shakur. In my eyes, that was just how I felt. I believe Haney was a better fighter than Shakur as far as I don't want to say Shakur's skill for skill. They might have been, it was really a chess match, because I believe Shakur has very, very, very good skill, and I believe Haney has very, very good skill as well. But at the time, I just believe Haney would engage more than Shakur would, because Shakur always would think defense first. So I just believe Haney was going to be. I thought it would go the distance, and I thought Haney would beat either split decision or unanimous decision, because I think Haney would have boxed circles around Shakur because Shakur was thinking defense first. And I think that Haney, with his jab, he'd have been jabbing it up. And don't get me wrong, it'd have been some good moments in that fight or whatever, but I just think his jab, if he would have kept his jab pumping against Shakur, I think he would have neutralized Shakur whole game, because, you know, his jab is so good and powerful and everything. Haney's, that is. I think it would have had Shakur resetting a lot. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that Haney could have won that fight back then, but I don't know about now, because I think Shakur could probably beat Haney, because I think Haney's skills diminish, man, and they diminish quick, because for one, he took like 2 years off after that fight, which to me, I think that was a good thing. I wouldn't want him come right back and fight, you know, after that punishment, because see, Ryan punished Haney. He didn't just, see, it would have been better if Haney got knocked out, but Ryan punished him. Like when you get punished like that, man, it's like, it's hard, you never be the same. You know what I mean? When you get a bruising fight, like when Errol Spence punished Danny Garcia, he was never the same. Look at Danny when he fought a 50-year-old Lara. What's his name? Irizlanda? Something. Irizlanda? Lara? Israelanda? Lara? Something like that. Lara. Just look at him fighting Lara. Man, he was never the same. Never the same. Even though but Jose Benavidez got shot in his leg. He half a man as far as the sport of boxing is concerned. You need your legs. Your legs is everything. And this dude got shot in his leg. And, you know, so Danny beat him, but it wasn't. After Earl punished him after he came out of accident, too. Earl punished Danny, man. You see Danny eyeing all that after the fight? He punished him, man. And then he went to his body. He punished Danny's body. Danny tried to fight. What, the last 12? In the 12th round, he tried to do something at the last 10 seconds of the fight. So, but, I mean, I love Danny Garcia. I'm just telling the truth, though, you know. If he had some stuff on me that he wanted to tell the truth, he could tell it, guy. Because I like the truth, man. You got to tell the truth about it, because I just believe that Devin is tough, man. He's a tough little guy, man. I always said that. I just didn't like the fact, because I really believe now that his father is the one that wanted to sue Ryan Garcia. I really believe that. I don't think that was Devin's doing, because his father is really, you know, controlling his career and everything. What Bill says goes, and I hope Bill ain't the one that's putting Devin up to fight Brian Norman Jr. You understand what I'm saying? Because he can get Devin really hurt, and that's why I said my vision when Devin was talking, I saw him on the canvas with his head back, his eyes closed. He had that same haircut. And Brian Norman was in the background, way in the background, like in the blur, walking by, and the ref was, you know, waving it off because he was asleep. And that's what I believe that's going to happen. See, because a lot of people, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to close because I've been on here for like a half hour. A lot of people aren't giving Brian Norman Jr. his props. They're not giving him his just due. And he's going to prove, because I can see the type of fighter he is. And not only that, with his words and how he speaks, because he's not a rah-rah type of guy. He's a get-to-the-point type of fighter. And I love that about him, because it lets me know that he ain't going to play with you. You know, he coming to work. He coming to fight. He ain't coming to run. He ain't coming to lay an egg. He coming to get the folks what they want to see. And so by him being overlooked, to me, I believe he being overlooked by Haney. That's why Haney kind of like tried to diminish him and say he levels above him and everything. He trying to diminish his wins, and because a lot of people wrote Brian Norman Jr. off on the wins that he had, and like especially Santillan. You know, they thought he was going to lose. Man, oh, my goodness. That was a knockout of the year. Oh, my. Do you see how Santillan, he looked like a fish jumping out of the water. Man, hit him. He looked like he just jumped out of the water. Like, you know how them, like, dolphins play in the water? Man, that dude was a bloody mess. And I think Brian, this right here is going to send Brian Norman Jr. into superstardom, because I think his humbleness, because I know what the Bible talks about, you know, be humble and you'll be exalted in due time. You know what I mean? When you remain humble yourself under the mighty hand in God, and he will exalt you in due time. I think that's what the scripture says. But, you know, he's a humble guy, and you could tell he don't disrespect no fighters or anything like that. He just talk about what he gonna do when he get in the ring. You know what I mean? So you gotta respect somebody like that, you know, and a lot of people overlook that because they want the drama. They want the one that's gonna talk the most and not deliver. You know what I'm saying? Like a Haney, when he was talking before the Jose Ramirez fight and the Ryan Garcia fight, and now he talking like this before the Brian Norman Jr. fight, and I think he gonna get a wake up call, man. He gonna get a wake up call, and I think Brian Norman Jr. is gonna flatline him. He gonna flatline Devin Haney, and I say it probably go 7, 8 rounds, something like that, because Devin gonna run a lot, but Brian gonna cut off the ring. It might go quicker than that, cause cause Devin got heart though. One thing Devin, and see, that's what's gonna get him knocked out, cause he gonna try to stay there, man. Brian gonna catch him, cause Brian, I told you he got them Remingtons. He got them Remington shotguns in his gloves and them 50 calibers. Man, he got that close up 50 caliber shot. Oof, and Devin gonna feel it, and Devin's chin is already compromised. So, but that's all I got, man. I said I was going to close. I appreciate y'all, man, coming back to another episode of Ski Mask Weight Boxing. Like, share, subscribe, comment what y'all think between Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr. Who you think is going to win the fight, and do you think Devin is going to be slick, fast, elusive, his old self before the knockout he had? I mean, not knockout, but the loss he had against Ryan Garcia, the knockdowns, the horrible knockdowns, you know. Do you think he's going to perform to the level before a Ryan Garcia fight, post Ramirez fight, you know, against Brian Norman Jr.? Give me your thoughts and your comments below, man, and let's chop it up. But like I said, y'all take care and never forget, Jesus love you. Amen. Amen. Take care, fight fans.